Recently, there's been a lot of talk on the internet about the male gaze, specifically dressing for the male gaze. You might be wondering, what is the male gaze, and am I myself dressing for the male gaze? Well, the male gaze is a term coined by Laura Mulvey in her essay Visual Pleasure and Narrative Cinema. In feminist theory, the male gaze is the way that femininity is depicted in media and literature by a masculine, cisgendered, heterosexual perspective. By definition, this often shows women overly objectified and represents women in a way for the sole pleasure and enjoyment of a heterosexual male. In things like media and literature, this usually adds absolutely nothing to the plotline, and it becomes quite excessive. Now that we've defined what the so-called male gaze is, we should discuss how it has been used in social media recently. There's this specific trend, POV, you stop dressing for the male gaze, where people are changing the way they dress and the way they represent themselves to the public based on what they feel comfortable and good in rather than what they think other people, especially men, would think they look good in. And you might be wondering, why does this even matter? It's literally just clothing. No, you have to understand. We are living in an era of self-expression and individuality. And this self-expression definitely includes self-expression through the use of clothing. I myself choose my clothing every day based on the mood of the day, how I'm feeling, and what I want to express to the world that day. Plus, many of us have been born and raised on the internet and therefore have been exposed to social media since quite a young age. We have all been guilty of following the newest trends and styles. So when people started realizing that a whole section of fashion is basically reserved for the male gaze, the trend was made. The thing is, many styles and clothing can be argued to be appealing to the male gaze. Feminine clothing at its core is more often than not tight, short, and kind of revealing. But the thing is, the act of changing your style based solely on the discovery of the male gaze is still going against the idea of self-expression and individuality. And I do think that mindset behind this whole trend is a little bit problematic. Not the act of changing your style, but the mindset behind it. I do agree that a lot of the beauty standards for women and what defines them as attractive, like a cinched waist, curves, glowing skin, long legs, etc., are all influenced by the male gaze, and clothing does often work to highlight these features, but the alternative does not have to be baggy clothing and less pink. The thing is, people have literally started attacking other people on social media for choosing to dress in tight clothing or like a cute pink miniskirt. Like, are we not standing for self-expression and individuality here? So yeah, I do think that the trend is a little bit problematic because the mindset behind it has kind of influenced some people to thinking that feminine clothing are bad. So now to wrap things up, I want to propose a different solution. Instead of dressing for the male or female gaze, dress for yourself. And honestly, if you want to, you can choose to dress for either gaze. If you think that feminine clothing is your style, do it and slay it. And if you don't feel comfortable in that, dress in whatever makes you feel the most comfortable and the best in. Like I said, clothing is a form of self-expression, so whatever you want to express, dress that way. Just don't feel like you're forced to fit into any of these trends, and honestly, slay whatever fit you put together.